Welcome to another segment of the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights. Today we will be talking more about the census as it is coming up on April, and I have a guest today by the name of Andrew Thiroff. Did I say that right, Andrew?
Yeah.
Awesome. And he's going to talk to us a little bit more about what the census is doing here in Lincoln, what the city of Lincoln is doing to promote the census, and he was kind enough to say yes, so welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit more about what department you work for.
Yeah, so I work for the City County Planning Department, so we do planning for the city of Lincoln and then the county as well. So we have two divisions. We do development review, so we look at current development applications as they're coming in, and then we have a long-range side that does more long-range stuff, as you could guess.
Great.
So I work on the long-range side. The big thing we do is the comprehensive plan, which is just starting an update right now. It's essentially, it sets the vision for the community for 30 years out and then provides a roadmap for meeting that vision.
Wow.
So we're just starting that. So that's a really exciting process.
Great.
Something else I work on that is a long-term impact is census-related information. So that's what brings me here, because this is a once every 10-year opportunity. So whatever happens with this census is going to affect us for the next 10 years.
Awesome. Well, thank you for telling us a little bit more about what you do. But can you give us an idea of why it is that the city of Lincoln is involved with the census? Because this is not the first time that the city has been involved. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we've been involved since at least 2000, so at least the last two censuses and now this one as well. So the planning department works with the Census Bureau a lot. We use a lot of census data for our inputs. Part of my job is dealing with census requests from the public or other departments. So we have a really good relationship with the Census Department. And every 10 years with the decennial census, they contact us to partner with them to help out with outreach.
So when you're talking about a partnership, what does that mean, or what does that entail?
So in terms of promoting the census, the Census Bureau could just do it all, but then everything's coming from the federal level, and some people aren't that receptive to that message. So they want to work through trusted voices in the community. So who knows the community better than the city itself and then the organizations we work with. So the Census Bureau partners with us, and then we partner with other organizations that work in the community. So it's kind of this hierarchy of trust, I guess you could say.
Okay. Are there other departments within the city that help with the census, or is it just other community centers that help out with this?
It's essentially every city department. I mean, it's a citywide effort, but then there's also other agencies like Human Rights, Aging Partners, Workforce Development. So it's kind of a broad range of interests in the community, Chamber of Commerce as well. So what we've done is we've put together what's called the Census Complete Count Committee. So that's all of the city departments along with the city agencies, and we get together and we talk about ways to increase census participation.
Awesome. So what would be some of the goals of that Complete Count Committee?
So our broad overarching goal is to promote self-response to the census. So what's going to happen is in March, the census forms are going to start going out. Census Day is April 1st.
April 1st, so it's right around the corner.
Right around the corner. It's 2020 now, so it's coming up.
Okay.
So forms will start going out mid-March. People will get a postcard in the mail with a code and telling you to go take the census.
Okay.
And the goal for us is to have as many people take it on their own as we can. So last time, 2010, about 80% of people in the county took the census on their own.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's well above the national average, which I think is closer to 70.
What ways can people do their census? Like you talked about having a census form being sent out soon. But when they do their census, what does that mean? Do they just fill out the form, or are there other ways that they'll be doing their census?
So the first thing they'll get is a postcard that'll tell them to either go online or they can do it by phone.
Okay.
So the preferred method for the Census Bureau is online or phone, just because it saves the money in terms of shipping out a physical form. So that'll be the first two options. And then if you don't want to do it online or on phone, you can either request a paper form, or they will eventually send you one if you just don't take the census. So they'll send you that paper form. Then if you essentially ignore all of those options, someone will actually come to your door and they will take it with you. They will essentially ask you the questions on the form. fill it out.
Are census workers, do they have a way of identifying who they are? Because I'm sure, some people are very apprehensive to who, comes to their door. And so what can we tell our audience to make sure that they trust the person who is representing the census? What kind of ID, or do you know, how would they identify themselves as a census worker?
Yeah, they'll all have census IDs, and they'll be there. They'll represent themselves as being with the Census Bureau, and they'll just ask you the basic questions on the form. How many people live at your household, ages, gender, race. They'll ask about the relationship to whether they're your kids or they're adopted or what the situation is.
Sure.
They will not ask you any financial information in terms of, they won't want your bank account, they won't want any money from you, they won't want your social security number.
So that's when you know that
Yes.
they are not the real thing.
If anyone's asking for anything in terms of a payment or social security number, they're not with the Census Bureau.
With the census. Nice. And tell me, what kind or what types of outreach activities is the committee doing to reach out to the people and encourage them to do their census?
So we've been fortunate in that the city council and county board have both given us a budget to help promote the census. So we are doing a few advertising activities. We'll have a few billboards up throughout the community in February and March and April. We're going to do a yard sign campaign, multilingual yard sign campaign.
Ooh, awesome.
We're going to send out mailers to certain parts of the community where historically we've had low self-response to try to bump those numbers up. We've also been working with different local organizations, NeighborWorks, El Centro. We had a workshop in September,
Right.
Where we met with them and talked about different strategies that those organizations can use to reach the population they already work with and promote the census.
Awesome. How is the census, I don't know if you know this, but how is the census working with those individuals and the different languages that we have? Like, for example, here in Lincoln, I think we have, and I'm just guessing, about over 80 different types of languages. So what is the Census Bureau doing for that?
Well, in terms of taking the census, it is available in multiple languages when you go online, or if you call into the phone line to take the census, they'll have a large variety of languages available. And then I think some of the enumerators are multilingual. So in terms of promotional activities, though, a lot of that is on the local end. I think we just want to make sure we're working with different local organizations that reach different populations who aren't English speaking, because when we're talking about people who wouldn't maybe fill out their form and send it in on their own, in a lot of cases it's people who don't speak English as a first language or don't speak English at all because they don't understand what the census is, and it's potentially a scary thing. You don't know what people are sending you something, asking you all these questions, and they want you to send it back. So it's something that we need to make sure and explain in different languages so we're reaching all of the community.
Great. So you've had several different community centers that you're working with for the language barrier that we're talking about. Are there any possibilities of education, for example, people who will have their postcard or whatever, is there any place they can go so they can get assistance to fill, their census, whether it's online or on paper?
Yeah, we're working with a few different community centers to try to get that set up. We don't have any final information on that yet, but it's something we're working on. And I know the libraries have committed to being a census location in terms of if you don't have the internet, you can go to the library and fill out your census form there online. So we're still working on some specifics for that, but yeah, there will be locations throughout the community where people can go get help on the census.
Is there a specific part of Lincoln that the Complete Count Committee is targeting to get more of a response for the census? Yeah,
so the census, they have historical information about the census and who takes the census. So they have a tool that's based on census tracts. So that's small portions, usually about 5,000 people is what a tract is. And they've identified the tracts that historically have not had great self-response on the census. So that's what we're targeting. Typically it's around the core, it's the downtown core area. Some of the specific groups that we're targeting would be, for Lincoln, college students is a big one because of course we have a lot of college students. So specifically off-campus college students is who we're trying to reach. There's a lot of confusion in terms of maybe I go to college at UNL, but I'm from Columbus or something. Do I say I'm here or in Columbus? So
Right.
you say you're here. You live in Lincoln most of the time. So
Right.
there's a lot of that education. There's a lot of international college students, of course, which they may not know what the census is or what we're talking about. Another large group we're targeting are people who are not from America, so either new Americans or just people who came here at some point. That's really the core groups that we're targeting, because those are people that typically wouldn't be quite as receptive to taking it, or maybe wouldn't fill it out correctly because they live in multiple locations.
Right.
So.
How can the citizens of Lincoln help with this? I mean, as you started saying, you're working with some of the centers and different community centers and other organizations, but what can, as citizens of Lincoln, what can we do to help make sure that we all know about the census? Do you think there's something that they can do, or?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is just being educated about the census yourself and spreading that within your social networks and people you know. There's a lot of confusion, especially this time around, about like the citizenship question and
Yes.
whether or not that's going to be on there.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be on the census. That's been determined.
That's awesome.
But a lot of people are confused about that, and I think rightfully so. So. Just being informed about the facts of the census, and then sharing that with the people you know, and if you hear someone with questions about it, helping answer those questions, and then they can talk to someone else and have it spread throughout the community.
If people have questions for us right now, let's see, where can we find additional information about the census? I think we have a website.
We have a website we've set up locally. It's available on, if you just go to lincoln.ne.gov, there's like some images scrolling on the main page. It's one of the main images. It says 2020 Census. You can click on that to get some information about it. You can also go to 2020census.gov. That's the Census Bureau's website about it, that has all kinds of information about what the census is and examples of the census form, and it's very informational. So.
Great. Thank you, Andrew, for being with us today. And we would also like to thank the Mayor's Office, the Lancaster County Commissioner, and the City of Lincoln for supporting the Census Complete Count Committee. And remember, we all have rights.